So, Twitter doesn't understand animation. This was animated in 1987. Or why does it look so good? I don't understand.
Recently, I got successfully rage baited on Twitter, so I'm making a video to recoup my losses.
Wait, I'll see if I can find the one that was recent. Before we get into this one, there was a Soul Eater one that was going around. Is from this anime is from 2008. Where is it? I might not be able to find it, but there was a clip of the opening fight scene from Soul Eater. Yep, wait. No, this is not the same post. Okay, it's not the post I'm talking about. But I think it was of this, it was of this section. But it was like, oh my god, how does an anime from 2008 look so good? That doesn't make any sense. It's old. Why does new anime still look worse than an anime from 2008? I think it might have been a quote tweet of that, actually. Yeah, let me see. Let me go to view post engagements. No. Maybe it was. I know. It was definitely of that scene. Anyway, well, maybe I'll find it later. I don't know.
Today, we're talking about animation. The tweet that's responsible.
A lot of people seem to think that animation is like GPUs. Wait. Hold up. That actually might. I might have liked. Or I'd have bookmarked it. I feel like that was the comment on it. I'm not gonna be able to find it. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to find it. Yeah, the quote about animes being treated like GPUs. Yeah. Wait, here we go, found it. This is the one. This is exactly the one I'm talking about. How did animes look like this in 2008, but we have ones coming out in 2025 that are still slideshows? First episode of Magic Knight Ray Earth. Holy shit.
The original and the quote tweet. This was animated in 1987, and it's above a 30-second clip of a dude in a mech doing all the basic checks. And yeah, it looks good, but this was animated in 1987? That's not really how animation works.
Yeah, the difference with this... So, okay. Animation has gotten easier with digital techniques. This is true. You don't need to, like, repaint every single cell. Absolutely. But... that's not how animation works. There is amazing... There is more good-looking stuff now because it is easier to make good-looking stuff. It is less work to make good-looking stuff than it was then. But you still need to be a good animator. And a lot of people just... Again, a lot of people don't know this. They see, like... They see... Again, games, they see 3D graphics and assume everything is like that. Also, deadlines were much more humane in older anime. I don't know enough about the industry to really comment on that. Because you look at Mappa, and Mappa is well known for having some, fairly bad workplace practices. And they're making Jujutsu Kaisen right now, so, you know.
One thing you have to understand about animation and art in general is that the concept of aging doesn't really apply. You have countless paintings that were created hundreds, thousands of years ago, and they still hold up to this day. New and experienced modern artists still routinely study and learn from the old masters. Animation, as me and you know it, is a fairly recent art form by comparison.
The other thing is, sorry, I don't know if he's going to get into this. The other thing is that animation styles have drastically changed. So back then, there was a lot more emphasis on moving parts, on highly choreographed interactions, and you still get some of that now. Look at the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen season 3, or look at most of Jujutsu Kaisen. Look at, you know what? Great example right here of a relatively modern series. Boku no Hero. The Deku fucking, what's the scene called where he's like fucking dancing around? What the fuck is the... You know the scene I'm talking about, though. Fuck. I'm not gonna... I don't remember which season it was in. But there was the really highly animated, foot movement scene. But a lot of animation now is sort of more focused less on fluid movement, more on, impact, more on, crazy, you see the whole, you break something, it turns into a bunch of cubes, flashing lights, all of this stuff. Animation styles have been shifting more towards that direction, more away from the, really readable, really highly in-depth choreographed movement.
Which means we can't really go back all that far, but the concept remains the same. Good animation, regardless of the era, will look good. I can pull up a scene from Tom and Jerry made in 1940, and it's going to have all the hallmarks of good animation. Squash and stretch, timing, the whole works.
It is actually kind of crazy how well animated Tom and Jerry is. It's actually kind of insane how absolutely goated the Western 2D animation industry used to be before they just fucking gave up on 2D.
Like this one makes no sense because time period has nothing to do with quality of good animation. With that being said, animation has improved.
Oh, here's the scene.
To pretend that
that's literally the scene I was talking about.
With that being said, animation has improved. To pretend that the 70s, 80s, or 90s are some sacred era where animation peaked is a statement that you can only make if you watch the best of that time period and only the slop of today. Of course, you're going to come to this conclusion if you put Akira up against 7 Deadly Frames. It's just not a fair comparison. Are we going to pretend that Demon Slayer has bad animation? Are we really going to look at any single cut done by Vincent Chan's art and say that we have regressed? Most artists that
I think you can make the argument that you don't like the animation style you see today. A lot of the really well animated anime today, the super hype, your Solo Leveling, your JJK, your Demon Slayer, a lot of it is bright flashy colors as opposed to highly choreographed fights. I understand having feeling like the style of animation is worse, but the actual the animation itself is still phenomenal. It's just gone in a different direction. And you still see some of those highly choreographed scenes. Actually, great example. Go watch a fucking really well animated slice of life series, and you'll see crazy character animation.
Continue to create will inevitably get better with time. A lot of those same animators making peak animation in the 80s or 90s are still around today. Yutaka Nakamura, for example, is an animator that had a hand in some of my favorite cuts in Cowboy Bebop. They still look incredible to this day, but you'd have to be willfully ignorant to say that his skill level has decreased.
Flash animation is more effects than quick but visually clear movement. This wasn't out at the time. It wasn't out at the time. But let me show you the scene from JJK. JJK season 3, Blood. I don't know if someone's clipped it. Maybe it's on Twitter. JJK Season 3. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Scenes like this, like it's, you can see how phenomenal. And I do kind of wish we shifted away. I think we've gone a bit too far down that route.
Or plateaued since he created these. Almost a decade later, the dude made one of the most impressive sword fights in animation history for Sword of the Stranger. Even more recently, his work on Frieren is downright gorgeous.
Phenomenal.
Insane perspective, incredible clothing animation, and movement, as well as a full-ass 2D dragon for multiple cuts.
Yeah, and that is like Frieren managed to make the high-speed movement still actually readable. I feel like most of if you look at the the Frieren doll fight, the Frieren golem fight, that was like insanely high speed movement, but I feel like you can still understand what's actually happening in the fight. Did you watch Sword of the Stranger? I actually haven't. No, I need to.
Actually difficult to do in animation. That guy is a monster. Now, I know the post is broad in nature, so while animators like Nakamura might be exceptions, the rest are terrible frauds. Right? Well, that's kind of what they want you to think. However, that's a flawed viewpoint. Nakamura was still an exception back then as well. Just like most industries, you're going to have a majority of people that do a good enough job, while a small percentage excel far above the norm. What has actually happened is that there are more top-tier animators today than there have ever been before. Digital has made animation accessible to anyone with a tablet and a pirate flag, so you're seeing unprecedented amounts of talented people from all over the world create, whether it's fan animations uploaded to YouTube, or people working from overseas that manage to find a role in your favorite animes. The barrier to entry has been slowly being lowered year after year, and as a result, more and more talented people that normally wouldn't get the chance to work on these projects are actually getting hired. Everything I just said is a fact 1000%. If you have a differing opinion, you are just wrong. The thing about older anime though, it also had the same problems. Because none of these rage baiters actually watch any of the shows.
Actually true. Everyone who talks about, almost everyone that talks about anime on Twitter doesn't actually fucking watch anime. Maybe they watch some, TikTok compilations.
Take a deeper look, shall we? I don't want this to turn into a let's shit on this animation segment. The team of people that made this sequence are all very talented, and visually, I think it's quite nice.
The difference also is mech is just not the mainstream genre anymore. Back in the 80s and 90s, mech was isekai of the time. It was the meta genre. It is what, you had so much mech series coming out back then. That's just not where we are today, right? Now you see, isekai being, the thing you see every single season. If you go back to the early 2000s, you had a lot of Moe Blob stuff. If you go back and look at some of, the cuts in, K-On!, for example. Yeah, it actually, there were some amazing cuts in that series. But, there's just not the excitement, not the money behind making amazing mech series anymore. You get your occasional one here and there, but it's just not where the talented people are working at this point.
With that being said, the quote tweet with over 200,000 likes is making the claim that we don't have anything of this quality anymore. So let's look at the actual animation happening here. We start out with a neat shot of the top part of the leg.
When did this come out? 4 months ago? This is 4 months ago, so that's August. So what is that? Let's do it actually aired specifically that season. So that would be what? Spring? Summer? Spring 2025. I think spring 2025, I think. So what do we have? Okay, maybe not this one. Maybe not this one. Fire Force. Lazarus. Lazarus is amazing. Lazarus is basically it's just more bebop basically. Definitely not this. This was garbage. Witch Watch had some phenomenal cuts. Vigilantes was amazing. Like, it didn't have anything to the level of My Hero, like the main My Hero series, but it still had some amazing cuts. Let's not talk about this one. Let's not talk about this one. Fucking Uma Musume Cinderella Grey. No, okay, I don't need to show anything else. If you've not seen Cinderella Grey and you don't know how much fucking insane talent goes into this series, you have no right to speak on anime. I don't know about the new Gundam series, but I heard it actually was pretty solid. Let's see, anything else? Yaiba had some incredible cuts. This had some amazing character animation. Anything else that was kind of a standout? Nothing's really popping out to me that much. Oh, the Maid Dragon movie, of course, but that's a movie, so. I think this was just some shorts. No one watched Moonrise. Moonrise had some god tier talent behind it, and then it was like locked behind Netflix, and I think they released all of it at once. No one even remembers this came out, but it also was kind of shit story wise. But if you want to just talk purely animation, Moonrise was incredible. I don't think there's anything else super notable.
Down onto the foot. Only the top part and the tubes are actually being animated, but it looks good in the...
No, I've not watched the movie, but every single cut of every single cut of Maid Dragon's been phenomenal. I have no doubt it was also really good.
Attention to detail is great. Look at how this little knob turns clockwise and backs as the motion is done. The next shot is more detailed, and unsurprisingly, only the rotors are actually being animated.
Yep.
After that, we've got a hand clutching the control stick. Only the fingers, not even the full hand, are being animated. The following cut has even less movement, with only the display changing. Another super detailed drawing, but only the fingers on the comparatively less detailed person are moving. The fingers on the robot's hand are...
Yeah, this is the other thing. It's very easy to trick normies into thinking something's insanely well animated.
Drawing, but only the...
We have two shot... And this is I would imagine that this is probably traced. Like, they just traced the movement because it was just easier.
Person are moving. The fingers on the robot's hand are also way simplified so that the animation is easier to make.
Yep.
Next up, all detail, no movement outside of the lenses closing and opening.
Yep.
A super quick shot where a cinder block with almost no detail as well is crushed, and one more cut of only rotors moving left and right.
It's so easy to trick normies. It is so fucking easy to trick normies.
A machine gun. You get the picture. While this is all super simple animation, in the context of what's happening on screen, it's perfectly acceptable, and most importantly, it makes sense.
Yep.
There's no reason for the entire mechanical body to be in constant movement. That's why the animators can spend a lot of time making the drawings look phenomenal and detailed. While the opening sequence does look good, even though the animation is limited, the rest of the OVA is average. Lots of still shots that endlessly pan, lower detailed mechs to make the sparse...
It's almost like they didn't watch it.
Moments of movement actually look good.
I think people are confused that it's not the animation that's good, it's the style. Do you remember when Konosuba Season 2 came out? And it changed from... Fuck, who was the original studio? It was originally Dean... Or maybe it was still Dean, but they changed the art style. Wait. Yeah, no, it was still Dean, but they changed the art style. And people like, oh my god, this looks so bad. Everyone's going off model. Because a lot of people, their idea of good animation is a screenshot.
And plenty of off-model characters later, and what you get is a very average project. Let's go up a year or two. Potentially my favorite anime of all time, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, has
It's another one of these guys.
some of the most mediocre animation I've ever had the pleasure of watching. Characters are usually sat there, with only their mouths flapping and sometimes moving their bodies to walk in and out of the scene. In the context of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, the limited animation is fine. The characters don't need to be exploding into impact frames every 10 seconds because it's a drama focused around humans. However, even in its action set pieces, they're never anything too outstanding, and I'll take most of anything from today over that. Good animation has never been...
How old's Gurren Lagann? Gurren Lagann. That's fucking 18 years old. It can vote.
the norm. Every period has had its Demon Slayers, its Cowboy Bebops, its Seven Deadly Sins, its Great Teacher Onizukas. Anybody that makes the absolute claim animation was better in XYZ year just has no clue what they're talking about. What I would consider to be the issue is oversaturation and art direction. Maybe that's actually what these people mean when they say that the animation...
I think that's fair. Like, this is what I was saying earlier. There is a lot of the flashy, like the bright, flashy colors.
Is bad. I find the look of your average anime these days to be pretty boring and uninspired. Super bright, highly saturated.
No, shut the fuck up. Do not talk shit about Slime or Dainana Orgy. These are both phenomenal. Let's bring up a fight. I don't know what this show is. I just kind of no, shut the fuck up. No. We're not. Where's a good example? Which fight's this? Yeah, I don't want a fucking AMV. I'm trying to fucking find a good clip. YouTube, there's too much nonsense on YouTube. Nah, here we go. Thank you. This is probably one of the worst animated fights, I would say. It probably will. Who knows? We'll see. Now, this is a great show. We don't talk about this. Everyone should watch Dainana Orgy. If you want just a fun fantasy series, it's all flashing lights. It is, but it's fun flashing lights. I think the problem is when the entire screen is a bright light. If I need to, like, close my eyes, that's too much. Too much flashing lights. Is AOT a good anime for a person who hasn't watched anything before? I'm tempted. It is a good series, but it is very much not like a lot of other things, right? If you go into AOT and you, like, really enjoy it, there's not a ton else that's like that.
Colors with no real thought put into them make a lot of shows feel very bland. Instead of a cohesive world, I feel like I'm looking at a toy promo. Regardless, this has nothing to do with animation quality.
To be fair, for a lot of things you are.
Animation is movement, not just pretty visuals. I will always personally prefer the darker, grittier look of older anime, but plenty of projects today can quite comfortably compete with the aesthetic. Frieren, Dandadan, Chainsaw Man, these are all shows that I think have a beautiful visual
identity. Yeah, no, Dandadan has some phenomenal scenes.
That is on par with the older stuff. The bigger problem, though, oversaturation. This is what I mean by this term. Look at the list of anime made in the year 1987. Okay.
There's a lot of anime that comes out now. There's a fucking lot.
Okay. Yeah. Decently sized list. Now let's peep 2025. Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. Year after
Yeah.
year,
Let's
more
pause. What do we find? This is shit. This is a remake.
anime is produced.
God, Mappa. We love
Animation
Mappa.
companies today have gotten ruthlessly efficient at pumping out content.
Let's not talk about Mappa and efficiency. Maybe they need less efficiency.
Since there's such a big demand for anime, they're heavily incentivized to spend less time making one thing look perfect, and instead on making something passable so that they can jump straight into the next project. And since not every show is created equal, the vast majority of them will end up being slop. So while in 1987 you might have had a handful of good shows, OVAs, or movies, your pool of anime was also way smaller. Nowadays, even if the ratio of good to slop is similar or higher percentage-wise, it just feels like a never-ending stream of dog shit to find something good. But when you do find something good... Another thing, have you noticed how every time a post like this is made, it's always a shot from a movie or a 15-minute OVA?
Yep. Again, it's always like these people don't watch anime.
Really makes you think. Anyway, I want to quickly talk about traditional versus modern animation. Whenever someone wants to give their opinion on animation and they bring up the term hand-drawn, 99 times out of 100, you're free to block them. Anything else they've got to say is probably just as stupid. Think about this term for 1 second. Hand-drawn. How do these people think 2D animation is made? With their feet? ChatGPT? It's not 3D. There's no models, no rigging. A human artist...
Sometimes there are models used for posing. Just, yeah. But yes, someone is drawing it.
Picks up a pencil and they fucking draw. The act of drawing on paper versus digitally has some differences, but the core remains the same.
Yeah, things like coloring digitally is vastly easier because how do you, if you have a face and you want it to be a color, how do you color that face? You click and it colors it. Now, obviously, you got to do shading and all that, but like, if you want to color that when it's paper, you can't just like, you actually got to color it. So digital does speed up a lot of the animation process, and that is part of the reason why you see a lot more good animation now, because people can actually make something in a reasonable amount of time. And also, the fact that normal people can actually animate something and don't need, like, a fucking camera to take a picture of their cells.
Give me a regular pencil, I can draw the same thing at roughly the same quality as I would digitally. Digital provides nice quality of life tools like undos, liquefy, or being able to flip through the animation as many times as you want, thus eliminating the need to hunch over every time you want to preview it. But a skilled animator is able to create great work with both mediums. Take Vincent Chansard as an example. For his part in the Sukuna vs. Maharaga fight, he animated the majority of it digitally. However, when Maharaga gets launched into the water, rather than leaving it up fully to the composition team, the guy brings out the watercolors and does the whole thing himself. What we get is an incredibly unique sequence that perfectly blends digital with traditional. Digital tools don't make him a better artist, he's just that fucking good. Also, let me lean in real close for this one. Animators today, and those that animated in the 80s as well, a lot of them still animate traditionally. So this notion that modern animation sucks because it's no longer hand-drawn falls completely flat on its face. I think 3D is the biggest component in people's disliking of modern animation. And this one I can get behind for most anime.
For most, but there are phenomenal 3D series. The obvious example that everyone points to is Land of the Lustrous. But there are other examples out there as well.
CG in Japanese animation isn't particularly good. Rather than it being its own art form, the way it's usually implemented is as a cost and time-saving crutch, which leads to it looking... CG in anime isn't necessarily new, it's been around and used since a day.
No. Do you gotta No. This, I know what you're doing. You can't get that one by me. Their CG massively improved as the series went on. We went from PS2 to PS3. Look at this guy. Man, look at look at them. I think they're still the same models, but they have better composition. Much better composition. Look at it! It's made of fucking plastic. Oh, man. Later Initial D does look really good, though.
It came out, but no big leaps have been made in making
Or it might have been the
properly
movie,
fit
actually.
into
That
any
was
given
that
anime.
one there. I don't know.
It's always very jarring to see, and usually the models themselves are never that good, so
Yeah.
they look way out of place. This doesn't mean that Japan is 5,000 years behind technologically. It's just that not many shows are made with 3D in mind. Dragon Stampede, Beastars, To Be Hero X, all three of these shows have absolutely outstanding 3D animation,
Yep,
and that
yep.
part of the animation industry has absolutely gotten better, and it's not even close. Into the Spider-Verse or Arcane are two super recent projects that put pretty much every other 3D animation over the last decade to shame. But we're mostly talking about 2D, which is a very convenient little trick these rats play. And that's why I want to show some of these To Be Hero X clips, and I want any of you 43-year-old elitists to tell me, and the viewers with a straight face, that anime has regressed in terms of animation. So no, animation in 1987, 1972, 1940 is not actually better than animation today. Good animation from that time period can compete with good animation from today.
Yep.
However, overall, I think the skill level
Yeah, the
has
fucking free rent
increased
scene,
as
man.
time has gone on. As always, have a nice day. Thank you for watching.
Hello, I am Josh, the superior content creator. We all know this. Recently, Orion has captured me, put me in his basement, right? But I am allowed a single grape ration a day, which is nice, and I'm allowed to play nothing but Fear and Hunger and Farming Simulator 2016. It's a good life, but out of spite,
is
I
this
will say
ending?
this: do not subscribe to him. His name is annoying to actually pronounce, and you know my channel's better. Subscribe to that one. But yeah, peace.
Okay, sure. That was a good video. I like that. I very much enjoyed that one. That was fun. It's always nice to be able to rant about some anime for a while.